Alright, so I've been trying to do a video for the last four weeks now, yeah, and it hasn't been happening. So I have like 30 minutes before I start working, so I'm gonna take the next 15 to 30 minutes to have a heart-to-heart. I shared in my newsletter on I'm gonna put the date here, but I shared in my newsletter a life lesson that I've been learning this season, and it's the lesson of surrender. In the newsletter, I was sharing that I'm trying to wean my 2-year-old, soon to be 2-year-old son. I have been trying to wean him, I guess. It's funny because my first child, my daughter, she did not breastfeed at all. Like, she legit hated the breast. Like, I would try to put my breast in her mouth and she would just start crying. Like, it was just so weird. Like, which baby doesn't like breast? But she didn't like the breast. So I didn't get to experience breastfeeding with her. And I remember when I was pregnant with my son, I was like, God, I want to experience it with my son, so please let him take the breast. And let me tell you, did he take it? Alright, so he really enjoys that. Right now I'm not producing as much, but he still finds comfort in it. Like, it's like his go-to. If he isn't doing anything, he just climbs up, takes it out, and it goes, you know. So I've been trying to wean him because I'm like, okay, you're almost 2 now, like, you need to stop. Plus, it's getting more uncomfortable because I'm not producing enough. I'm not producing enough, so it feels like it's getting like sore. I remember at one point he was sick. He had something in his mouth or something like that, and then I had something on my breast, and we went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, okay, it's probably time for him to stop. So from that time, which was I believe earlier this year or late last year, I was trying to, you know, stop him. But anyway, it didn't work. Even if I leave, like I would leave for maybe a weekend or maybe a week and then come back, he would just jump right back on. So anyway, I was sharing, you know, I shared it. My family started saying, okay, in Jamaica, one of the things that we do to help to wean kids is to rub aloe vera, or as we call it, Cinco Bible, on the breast, right? And then when they taste it, the bitterness would deter them from suckling. So, you know, they've been telling me, use that. Every time I complain, they're like, you're not using that and whatever. So I said, okay, I'm gonna use it. I finally got around to using it, put it on my breast, and the first time he went, he tasted, and then he was like, he continued. So he didn't stop. He like sucked it off and moved on, you know. And I was like, okay. So I really thought that was going to work. I was kind of delaying it because I didn't know how he would react with the aloe vera, and I think it gave him like maybe a loose tummy or something. He wasn't crying about a tummy ache, but I had to change his diaper a few times. So here I was sharing in my newsletter that I was learning about surrender, and one of the examples that I shared was that I shared on a thread post that I was trying to wean my 2-year-old and I needed, you know, like advice. And in one of the advice, you know, one of the comments was like, you know, I just talked to my daughter and eventually she stopped. I was like, oh my God, an understanding toddler, like, that's rare. But the next one was just one word. It said surrender. And I was like, what? I'm supposed to give in and let him suck my breast for as long as he wants to. And anyways, I was, I was sharing that in my newsletter, and one of the persons who subscribed to my newsletter responded, and she was like, what my mother does is she put mustard. She used to put mustard on herself, and that would deter us from sucking.
Is she serious?
And I was like, mustard? That's odd. But here's a funny story. Mustard isn't something that you'd find in a regular Jamaican kitchen. Like, who buys mustard? I only eat mustard on hot dogs when I'm out. But I bought mustard because I was trying to learn to fry chicken. I bought that mustard from about 3 months ago, and we've hardly used it. I used it on the chicken once, and it was just too oily, too much time, so I just didn't get around to using the mustard. But mustard was in my fridge, and she in the email she was like, I'm sure you can get a hold of mustard. And I was like, that's so funny. The most unlikely thing, I happen to have it on hand, and here I am talking about, okay, I'm gonna surrender and just let it happen when it happens. And when I gave up, somebody came, unlikely as well, because I don't usually get people responding to the newsletter. So when somebody responded, I was like, wow, this is good. And she said mustard, and I got up immediately and I put the mustard on myself and I wipe it. And my daughter was like, Mommy, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that to yourself? And I said, don't worry about it. And then my son came and he looked up and he saw the mustard on my breast, and the child fell to the ground and started crying. It was so funny. And I remember I pushed the breast up to, for him to taste it or something, and he was like, no. And he flipped out, like he just cried, like he just gave up. It was like a resignation. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so funny, because who would have thought? And if you're watching this and mustard is a thing for you, it may be like, yeah, but to me it's like, because I've never ever heard anybody talk about using mustard to deter or to wean a child. Like, I've never heard it before. So trying it and it working in a way that the child didn't even taste it, I guess it's the look of the mustard on my breast that made him like totally livid. He was like, no. And I found it so funny. It was so funny to me. It was funny. But yeah, anyways, yeah, so the lesson for today is surrender, guys. I know as mothers especially, it's so difficult for us to do it because we want to control everything. We want to control as much as we can. And I've seen instances outside of this, even with my spouse, where I know I have the gut feeling that I'm right about something, but going back and forth with him, it's only creating an argument or something big. And I've had instances where I'm like, you know what, God, I'm gonna just leave this. I'm just gonna leave it and just trust that you will make it work out. And you know what happened as a result? God put something on his heart and it just ends up working out. And I think that whenever we stop trying to get our way, whenever we stop trying to be right, prove a point, even if we are right or what we want to do is the best way to do it, we still have to trust that God will allow the other person to see that God will find a way to make it come to reality. We force things too much because we believe too much in our own strengths and our own abilities. And because we keep believing in our own strengths and our own abilities, we don't give God enough space to work. And so this is gonna be a short video, but I felt impressed to share it because this is like my testimony. And I'm gonna share something else. My husband and I were having this conversation. It's so weird. And I was sharing with him something that I was feeling deeply. And I didn't at the end of the conversation, I didn't feel like I had his support. I felt very disappointed. And I remember talking to God, and I was saying, you know, God, I didn't get upset with him or anything like that. I was just talking to God, and I said, God, this is heavy on my heart, and I'm just gonna leave it and let it be. If it means that I have to give up what I want or what is my desire to make it work, I am fine with that. But I am sad, God. I am sad about it. I am disappointed about it. I'm hurt about it. And I'm angry about it. But if I have to give it up, I will give it up. Just allow me to be angry. And I remember I was having that conversation with God the night, like after we had the conversation. And the following morning, my husband came to me. And he was like saying to me, whatever it is that you're going to do, you have my full support. And that's all I wanted in that conversation. That's all I wanted him to say it. And he said it in the morning. And then I was like, he said to me, he asked me, how does God talk to you? And I said to him, you know, sometimes he talks to me it's like a deep conviction. It's not like I'm hearing a weird voice or anything, but it's like a deep conviction that comes out of nowhere that this is it. And sometimes he talks to me through other people. And he was like, I believe that. And he shared with me an incident that happened the morning before I woke up, which is so weird. Again, something that happened that brought him to the realization that I needed his full support. And he shared with me that, listen, I'm going to give you the support. And that was really all that I needed. And I was so amazed. And I was like, there it goes again, the lesson of surrender. Instead of trying to go back and forth and arguing and just being mad at the person, well, you can be upset, but don't do it at the risk of ruining your relationship or creating animosity in your relationship. When the truth is, if you just let go and let God, He will work it out. And sometimes it could be that what it is that I wanted was not something that is good for me. And I don't know that. But because I am not allowing God to have that space to work in my life, I can't see it. And I remember also I watched this reel once with this gentleman, and he was sharing with a discussion he had with his mother, and he was asking his mother, you know, when her and his stepfather have differences, like how does she deal with it? And she was like, one of the things that she practiced is, if she had something on her heart that her spouse didn't have on his heart, she would pray about it, and she would say to God, listen, if this is something that you want for us, place it on his heart. But if this isn't something that you want for us, help me to surrender it. And the situation that she mentioned was that she wanted to adopt a child, but her spouse didn't want to, and she prayed about it, and they eventually adopted a child. Not because she was persistently in his back about it or persistently talking to him about it, but because she gave it up. She was like, God, your will be done. I really want this, but your will be done. If it is to happen, then put it on his heart. She didn't say let it happen and whatever with him, because it's a union. And if we focus more on protecting our relationships versus being right or getting what we want, then we will find a lot of times that surrender comes easier. When we prioritize the relationship over being right or getting what we want, surrender comes easy. And even with our kids, surrender works sometimes. Surrender in the sense that you're not going to let them do anything harmful or anything, but at the same time, if you are going back and forth with your child about something and they are insistent on doing it a particular way, go down on your knees and let go of the outcome. Trust that God will do what is right, because sometimes what we think is right isn't even right for that person. It isn't even right for the situation. You understand? So we have to surrender to God. Let us not feel that when we give up our rights, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm saying this. When we give up our rights to be right, or when we stop trying to prove a point, the power that we end up having, because now we allow God to take control. Like, I'm just amazed at this. I hope you found this little video at a time in your life when you needed it most. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Surrender to God and trust that He has your back. Yeah. I don't remember the Bible text, but it says, like, if your earthly father can give you good gifts, what much more your heavenly Father. Trust that He has your back. Right? Yes, right. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.